You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod. Enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to the 85th episode of the Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. This is Tim Hayes in Orlando, Florida.
Hey, it's a little guy in Minneapolis.
And this is Spencer in Boston.
Hey guys, I have an announcement to make that I'm very, very happy to announce to you guys.
What's that?
I am no longer going to be a giver. I am from now on going to be a taker.
I don't... What?
When did you become like the Republican bike race promoter? Is that when you moved to Florida?
I moved to Florida and I
decided...
decided...
used to believe in bicycle race excitement redistribution.
Yeah.
Yep, I know, and things have changed. I've decided that I'm no longer going to be a race promoter. I'm no longer going to be the great benefactor to bike racers everywhere. I am now just going to be like 95% of the other people that just show up and actually are the ones that pay for promoters to be in existence. This is what we need to all of us to do.
How are you going to afford that fancy promoter car you drive?
That fancy promoter car.
And that big Versa. Promoter house you live in.
You know what they say? They say most starters, more problems.
Most starters, more problems. And you know where I came to this realization, guys, was having an awesome time at the Florida State Cyclocross Championships. I saw the promoter. I high-fived him. I said, hey, great work. And then as soon as my race was done, I opened up a beer. I jumped in my car, and then, I drank the beer, and then I hung out for a little while. And then I jumped in the car with a buddy.
The story is sounding a little illegal.
Yeah.
I opened the beer, I got my car, I drove down the street, I dumped my beer, I threw my beer can out, because it's Florida, and screw it.
At some cyclists or animals or something.
Yeah. I yelled, get a job to some cyclists that I sideswiped.
Who I kind of know. And
kind of know. They don't have jobs. It's true.
It was just great to be out there and just racing. And guys, it reminded me a lot of, just the horror show of promoting bike races with you two. Little guy, you always tended to come up with these great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I would do all of the work. And then Spencer would just sit back and kind of relax and maybe draw a flyer.
Reap the rewards. No.
Yeah, I remember that.
Super Rookie, little guy was the idea man. Super Rookie was definitely the hype man. And I was like the execution guy on the ground. Like
Super Rookie was the panic man.
Super Rookie was the panic man. Like you did all the things that could be done from behind a computer screen.
Or in person, like before the race.
But you did all the in-person worrying where we didn't do that worrying in person. We were like, it's fine.
I would show up and yell at people.
You guys did a lot of like, hey, everything's going to be fine. And then I was the one that sat there freaking out because we had to get a signature on a permit to make the event legal.
Right. And I was like, insurance, whatever, it's fine.
Well, I'm just saying you needlessly got your pulse up.
We did manage to pull off
because it worked out.
The greatest coup ever, which was hosting our crit on the U of M campus about, a quarter mile away from the 35W bridge in Minneapolis when it fell down.
That was good.
That was definitely, there was no freaking out there. I mean, that we just took that in complete stride. The bridge collapsed, and then the three of us got together, we high-fived, we were like, hey, we're still going to be able to do this, no problem.
We did. We were like, should we cancel it? No.
No. Despite the fact that the rescue crews were like driving on the course to get between the areas where they were staging the picking up pieces of the bridge and stuff, and
the only
they
way
were
down.
not in the mood to deal with a stupid bike race.
And we escorted fire trucks through the course against course traffic, successfully, not unsafe. I was pretty impressed with us.
My highlight, though, is like the people that were mad tended to be like out of town police officers that were trying to flash their badge to get like their families down to like the cordoned off area to show a better angle.
Yeah.
Whereas like I remember like sightseeing.
Sightseers.
And I remember like the NTSB guys like really loved it because they got to get their like tinted out Ford Explorer SUV up to like 70 miles an hour around two dangerous corners to go down the hill. Like they loved it. They were like, "Oh man, this is cool." So.
We were like, guys, there's a bunch of Cat 5s coming, so you need to get to that corner before they do.
But they were like, "Oh, we've seen plenty of crashes," and then we all like high fived, like, funny joke.
Yep, I'm glad we invested in the walkie-talkies that year. I tell you.
So, I didn't win the race, guys, but I did hurt my knee, and I in a crash that I caused, and I felt that I should have came across the line and pointed at my knee, despite finishing in 11th place. Because I didn't get lapped by the winner, and pulling a, shall we say, Vanderpool?
You could say Vanderpool.
I mean, he is the original person that did it. No one has ever done a victory celebration like that before.
Now, here's the thing: why are you bothered that he hurt his knee, and then he goes across the line and sort of, he references a previous one, victory celebration. I don't see why that bothers you.
It doesn't bother me.
It's like doing a cover song.
He did give credit. He gave credit in the post interview as well to Johan.
And he did it better than Johan because he did it no hands.
I guess.
But
I think Miseo did it no hands. Oh, who's
I don't know. Miseo did it in a Mapei kit, but Vanderpool did it in a world champion kit. So
on a slope.
That's true. On a velodrome.
Hey, Mapei's coming back to cycling.
I heard that.
Speaking of Mapei,
I heard that.
Talks about that.
I'm a little disappointed.
I don't actually know how big they'll be on the jersey. That's we got to wait for, because when the Trek jersey drops, how big will the Mapei be?
Well,
will the colors change?
The answer to that question is not big enough.
That is a good answer, Spencer. But also, I want to point out that Mapei
yes.
isn't even like the co-sponsor of the Trek team. They signed Segafredo, the Italian coffee company, as like the actual co-title sponsor. So Mapei is like just happens to be like a technical partner, but it seemed that they were getting a lot more publicity for being back in the sport than Segafredo, who's obviously spent a lot more money to be the title sponsor here. So I don't think there's going to be any kit change whatsoever. And I would doubt that we even see. First off, wasn't Mapei like adhesives for construction equipment? How are they even like a technical sponsor? Like I don't get.
They run like a sports center, like a training. Like they run a sort of place where if Chris Froome had wanted, he could have gone to have his VO2 max measured. Like they run the same kind of thing. They they have coaches and stuff. Basically, it means the Trek is like, we're not very fast right now. We need to hire some new coaches. Let's hire the coaches with the best name value and not that guy over at 53 by 13. That guy seems a little shady.
His website's down all the time. Of course, you're talking about Michelle
5312. No, I'm talking about 5313. It's the even shadier website. It's not Michelle Ferrari.
His new site.
It's like the guy who was like the...
It's Michael Ferrari.
It's the guy who was like I don't even know, some like Polish team from 1995's coach.
It's Michelle Alfa Romeo.
It's Zaskula or somebody, some flash in the pan grand tour guy from the 90s website.
So that was kind of big this last week, Luca. You brought it up, is the Froome number release. And I know you guys want to go in-depth talking about hematocrit.
Oh, man. I've been crunching numbers all week, guys. I've got spreadsheets. I've got all kinds of data and charts here that I want to go over in depth. So just let me know when I'm ready to go. Let me know.
All right, hey, Spencer, I'm really interested in your VO2 max. Can you take a look at that and compare it to Froome in the Giro from 2012?
Yeah, I'm going to need a few minutes to crunch that, so just get back to me here in a moment.
Okay, I'm really interested.
I do want to actually see Spencer's numbers against Froome's numbers. That's actually what I do like to see. Do you think there's a way we can get that arranged, Spencer?
Yeah. So I can pull that up. I got tested at the YMCA a few years ago. It was actually when I was in okay shape, so I think my numbers will stack up, pretty well.
Well, I think the real important thing here, guys, is that when I have tough questions like this based on numbers and facts and others, I am going to take the lead of cyclingnews.com and just go straight to Lance Armstrong to see how he feels about numbers such as this, and also if drugs have to do with things.
No, we're not talking about that.
You don't want to talk about Lance?
I don't want to talk about the Lance and that he says.
But little guys, it sells the papers.
Yeah, it makes me not want to. It makes me want to quickly get away from the Cycling News website when I see, when I click on cycling, I open Cycling News, and the first thing I see is Lance. As I just close and go to Velo.
Yeah. See, I agree with you, little guy, but at the same time, do you feel that way about the whole Chris Froome numbers thing, like in the Esquire article, or are you actually genuinely interested in that kind of stuff?
I'm not bothered by it. I guess I feel like he's put in a weird position, whereas people are questioning him more than they're questioning other people. And I guess it seems like he was in a weird position to have to do something to make people kind of shut up. I'm fine with that.
I think the position he's in that makes people question him more is winner of the Tour de France. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but look at how well Quintana isn't that far off the pace. No one's really been questioning Quintana.
No, because he's the greatest ever.
Well, okay, because he's Colombian and everyone knows it's eventually going to come out.
During the tour, there was all this suspect talk about Froome, and then during the Volta, Aru's coach and all these guys were putting out people were putting up hypothetical numbers that were also completely crazy. No one was freaking out about Aru in the same way. I'm just saying, there's more suspicion in that guy than these other guys who are in the same league. If he's doing crazy shit, they're doing crazy shit.
See,
and it doesn't make sense.
I think I guess what would be going on is we need a bad guy. And we need good guys. We need somebody to root for.
Cyclocross has a bad guy.
Wait, but why is Froome the bad guy? He's literally remember how big of a dick Lance was? Obviously, we're speaking of Lance a lot. He was a big dick. There's plenty of guys. Vinokurov was a total baddie.
All of Astana was a bad guy.
Well,
but think of any interview you've ever heard Froome do. He is the worst villain ever. He's just he seems generally a nice person.
I know.
He seems like other riders in the peloton generally get along with him. He's a terrible villain.
That's why we tried to throw Nibali under the bus as being a bad guy, and we couldn't really make it stick. And Contador, he was a bad guy for a while, but now everybody likes him again. So he can't be the bad guy
because he suffered. But Contador's
and none of the
still
French
more of
guys.
A villain. He's got more crap in his past.
Right.
Crap.
But the French guys, they can't be villains because everybody's oh, they're French, and then so that only leaves Froome.
Well, the issue and what I was going to say is that Froome's totally got painted into the corner here, right? So he wins in dominating fashion, and then it's hey, you must release the numbers, which is totally bogus anyway. So from a standpoint, people are going to pick holes in it no matter what. People are just going to be oh, well, the numbers aren't real or whatever. So it's a no-win situation.
I just don't even think he won in dominating fashion. That whole part of the narrative makes no sense to me. How much did he win the Tour by?
It was 2.5 minutes.
Which one?
No, I don't even think it was 2.5 minutes this year.
Well, I mean,
Tim,
you're
acting
a
the biggest Quintana fan in the world.
Fact-based
you can't tell
question.
me.
On this
you're
podcast.
right. I'm acting. Sorry.
So let's get back to the point
is
that he put together quite this thing, and it was oh, you got to release your numbers and all this. But I want to know the intersection of I know people are actually interested in numbers, so it would be great to see raw data all the way across. I know he kind of released it, but he released it in a big cover story on Esquire.com, right? It became this big story of him proving his numbers rather than just that. The big story being the raw data or something to the point that hey, all of the top 5 tour guys release their data and you can kind of compare and you can do the science aspect, and then I could watch and listen to someone else argue about why it's important. But instead I'm just parsing together a totally made for TV type, made for a report testing situation, right?
Which is
something
perfect.
that was, it's just,
It's perfect because none of us are doctors.
I know.
Or sports scientists.
Not even the doctors and the sports scientists don't even agree on any of this
Right.
shit, so it's totally pointless.
Well, because we all know medicine and sports science is all made up anyway, so.
Yeah. I mean,
I think
all magic.
Well, so speaking of
vitamins, it's fine.
Speaking of the tour, and I think that it was a cool talking point for a slow week, but I think that the bigger news as far as the tour and, to segue from the Froome numbers is really Prudhomme, the director of the Tour de France, the president of the ASO, speaking from Spain where they're doing a big meeting of all the different race promoters, talking about reducing the number of racers per team. And this seems to, for both safety and then the excitement of racing, from 9 riders down to 8 per team. And I was actually really excited about this because this is something that I've always wondered why, 9 teams seems like a lot of, people. And then you think of those powerhouse teams like a BMC or a Team Sky or even Movistar that can be stacked top to bottom. And then you got the little teams, that maybe have 7 good riders, but they definitely don't have 9.
Well, but do you think one's going to make that big a difference? I feel it
makes a big difference on the road. I think that if you take out 20 riders from the pack, that you might have a safer race with just less people going after the positions on the road. I mean, that's 20 riders.
But I feel like the argument though is that part of it is if we take out a rider per team, then it's harder for the teams to control the race. But obviously everyone's going to cut their weakest riders. So basically you're cutting every team's most pack fill. You're cutting me, right?
Yeah. So
does that make a difference? Because those dudes are just at the back anyway, running into each other and getting dropped.
Because you look at a top team, who's the number 9 rider on Movistar, right? That'd probably be Alex Dowsett, who had the hour record.
He never would have been that low. I'm saying there's somebody else. You picked a couple guys on your tour team when we did Velo Games that were on Movistar that neither Spencer, I, or anyone had ever heard of.
True.
And those guys were obviously there to work on the flats, go get water bottles and stuff, and then get dropped with 20K to go. And not that they're not good riders and strong riders. I'm not saying that, but they were the last ones picked.
Yeah.
But I just think going down go 6 riders. Go 6 riders and let in way more teams. Then you'd have a crazy open race. Then you'd actually have
well, I mean, maybe this is just
control
the
race and some total rando guy would win because he would just take off one day and win by 30 minutes. And we'd have tours like from the 50s again or something.
No, that wouldn't happen because of race radios.
But is that
you
what
get rid
we
of race
want?
radios, 6 riders? Yeah, I think it is what we want. Because what we complain about every year, and everyone complains about, is one, sprint stages are ungodly boring until the last 2K, and then they're exciting for a little bit, and then the rest of the time there's these people won't attack on any of these climbs because there's a valley between. And they know that a Team Sky is just going to put all their guys in the front and bring it all back together. There's no point to do anything other than on the last climb. And then no one attacks in the last climb other than the last 2K.
Right. Well, I mean, I have to disagree on a couple points. I would say sprint stages are exciting from 10K to go because that's when Katusha gets on the front, and that's when I know Christoph is not going to win the sprint because they always start their lead out way, way, way too early.
Okay, that's true. It's interesting for one reason from 10 to 3 because you think maybe one of the GC guys will get caught in a split, and then 3 happens and they're all still there, and you're like, that sucks, that's stupid. And then you're like, oh yeah, I guess I'll watch the sprint before I go take a piss.
Yep.
And then the race ends. Yeah.
Yep. And then everything else is pretty spot on, I guess.
Thank you.
So, as you guys know, we have next week the president of USA Cycling, Derek Bouchard-Hall, coming on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we're all very excited about this. Probably the biggest guest we've had on besides national champions Adam Meyerson, Eric Saunders, and Maureen Bruno Roy. And I think that having
our lowest guest.
Yeah, he's our lowest, but he brings some important data points. but we have an Olympian. We have the president of USA Cycling coming. And there's lots of questions. So if you have questions you want us to ask the president, you got to get it into us very quickly, Tuesday at the latest. Email us at theslowridepodcast@gmail.com. If you have questions about upgrades, you have questions about, the Olympic Village. If you have questions about anything exciting, just get at us.
I don't think either of those things were exciting.
Yeah, not at all.
I hope our listeners can come up with better questions than you just came up with. Because clearly we are hurting.
One of the questions that is going to be discussed, because it has kind of blown up a little bit on the internet today, that I've seen is that like people are now realizing that license fees have gone up. In some cases $3, some cases $5, and there's kind of been this general I don't want to say outright complaining, but definitely snide comments about now I've got to pay an extra $3 to USA Cycling or another $5 USA Cycling. So have you guys seen any of this? Because that extra money, they say, is going explicitly to testing services in the amateur ranks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good news.
Yeah.
You think so, little guy?
I think it's really good news. I do not see why people are complaining about that, but people all the time, at least around Minnesota, a race goes from $25 to $30, and they're just like, whatever, no big deal. And then their license fee goes up for $5 for a reason, and they freak out like it's the end of the world. But no, I'll totally pay $5 more to do Theo Worth, because that sounds like a good plan.
I have definitely seen some snarky comments about the license fees going up, and it scales upwards. The UCI licenses went up quite a bit, and but I think they're going to be expecting more testing as well, so it's going to cover that.
But it's
that hurts, man. I agree, that hurts. That's a lot of money, more money, but it's going to a good cause. It's rare that your costs go up and you get this is what we're going to do with it, and it's going to something you should want unless you're a total shithead. And
it does seem weird that we are given a reason of why it's going up, and then people are complaining, and it's the reason that every cycling fan hates about cycling, dopers.
Yeah.
And case in point, guys, is that good old down in Louisiana, Mississippi, good old Todd Hickman tested positive for 2 different drugs at the Louisiana, Mississippi age-graded road championships on September 6th.
What
He was 49 years old for stanzanol and methylphenidate. Thanks for asking.
Meth in the name?
There's meth in the name. He won in a field of 10 riders in the 40-plus age group, and he already accepted the 4-year ban from USA Cycling. I mean, this is... Now, we could talk about the podium picture that Velonews has and the fact that there's cargo shorts that are appearing in the 3rd place, and there's crazy short creep going on in Todd's shorts, where his shorts are all the way down to his knees, which reeks of a little suspicion to me. But, I mean, seriously...
Why you need all those pockets, Todd?
So, it makes me wonder a couple things here. Do you think Todd was outright doping for this victory? Or do you think it was more Todd didn't even know that he had, some kind of supplement taint going on? Or is this a classic case of USADA going where the smoke is because they know there's fire, right? USADA is not going to waste the $300 it costs per rider, per test on someone that's just random. They've got to have some kind of information.
Well, one, we know a lot about facts, so we obviously know what those 2 drugs are supposed to do, right?
Yeah, totally.
So we can say for sure that it was not in a supplement, because whatever they are, they'd never be in whatever supplement he was supposedly taking.
I've read the label on Cliff Bars, and I haven't seen either one of those things on them.
Shit. I hope not, because I ate a couple Cliff Bars, 3 ones at Velocross, or Jingle Cross, or whatever.
Can I also say, little guy and Spencer, just copy it. They're not on Pearson's Nut Rolls. They are also not on Cliff Blocks and Honey Nut Cheerios, which is where I get my entire meal today.
Most of your calories. What was the first one? Stanzanol or something? It sounds like a tire.
It says it's an anabolic agent.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the meth is a substance of stimulants. So this guy was on
Are either of these things in Viagra?
Oh, that's a good question.
No, I think one's just a methamphetamine and one's just there to help
Just
it
a
along.
steroid. Yeah. Or
So,
masking.
I mean, so this picture of this guy was all over Velo News, this podium.
Mhm.
And I feel the crime is, like, the shame is not really on Todd. Like, Todd could be a great guy and he just made some bad choices. He accepted his pain. But the guy in third place in the cargo shorts, guys, like, this poor guy just wanted to go out and have a good ride. He got 3rd out of 10. Like, that's, like, kind of a career goal of myself. Like,
he was
he'd be
changing
like,
in the car. He heard the
changing in the
podium
car. He's like, "Hey,
announcement.
you
He's
got
like, oh,
third
shit,
place."
I got to run over there.
Because my guess is that it was probably a combined field. So he didn't even know. Like, he was just racing with, like, a field of 40 and 50-plus guys, and he finished maybe in, like, 15th place overall. And they're, like, calling his name, and he's already changed. And he's like, well, I got to throw on this jersey. I got to go take the photo. And then...
Yeah, what day of the week was this? Like a Sunday? Because it was probably wash day. That's probably why he wore the cargo shorts. He didn't have anything better to wear.
Oh, man, I feel bad for him. But, anyways.
Never lived that one down. Not
Yep.
like our buddy that won, whatever the hell his name was. He'll be back in 4 years.
He'll be
Better
back
than ever.
in 4 years, yeah.
New tie bike. You ready to roll?
I can't wait to ask Derek Bouchard-Hall how disappointing it is to report to work on, like, the Monday after a 49-year-old guy gets busted for doping in the 40-plus field of, like, the Louisiana State Championships. I mean, that's got to be depressing if you think about it. Like, when you, like, I know it's not, like, the end of the world. Like, he's got bigger fish to fry, like $1 million deficit. But he's sitting there going, like, oh, God. Like, a 49-year-old dude was doping. Seriously, this is what I have to deal with?
I am Jake Wells. Listen to Slow Ride Podcast.
I did want to kind of touch on that, and I know at the larger UCI races and in that field, we can't make the pits go away. But what do you guys think about just getting rid of pits at local races? I think they should be outlawed at anything below a state championship or a national championship or a UCI race. It's a ridiculous thing. Like, no, but like seriously, in that race yesterday, I understand, like, I can't tell Jeremy Powers not to bring his mechanic and his pit bike, you know what I mean? It's a UCI race. But, like, in that race yesterday, there was so much mud and so much grass and mud that, like, every time I carried my bike and I put it down, I had to, like, pick mud off my bike so that it would still, my wheels would still turn. But, like, in a local race, why should one person have the advantage of their wheels turning just because they have an extra $1,000 laying around? It doesn't make any damn sense. It's the UCI won't let you ride a fucking Y-foil.
No,
they'll let you put an extra bike in the pit. Like, the pits are stupid.
So, well, two things. First off, have any of you ever seen someone win a bike race or place in a bike race that's had to run to the pit? Like, during the race?
No, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying, like...
No,
listen to this. No, listen to this. This, like, so if I was doing a local race in this situation, like, it was enough where, like, if you pitted every half lap, it was a huge advantage. Because your bike weighed, like, 30 pounds after, like, a lap. Like, in that instance, like, if you're doing a local race and one guy has two bikes and a friend who can stand in the pit and hand him a bike and clean a bike, that's a ridiculous advantage. That's better than EPO. Like, so the guy with mud on his bike could be on EPO. Okay, I have a friend, and then I'll have an extra couple $1,000, and then it's a muddy course, so that means I can't just have, like, two bikes and one bike with Griffos and one bike with Limases. I gotta have two bike with mud tires.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I understand what you're saying, little guy, but there's two things here. Like, one is, like, from a logistics standpoint, having a pit, like, in a race that's not muddy, right? Like, so, like, oh, I crashed and I bent my handlebars. I got to run to the pit.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone come back from running.
Yeah, that's not what he's talking about, though. He's talking about having fresh equipment.
So that's the first one. So the fresh equipment, like, maybe you have an equipment rule. Like, hey, everyone can have a pit. Like, you can have spare wheels in the pit.
Yeah.
But you can't have, like, another bike. Or maybe, like, you can have a spare bike, but it can't be more than, like, $500. Like, it needs to be, like, a Magna.
That's silly. I think you should just... No, I really believe, like, it's just not sporting. It just doesn't make any damn sense. Like, at a certain point, like you're out there racing. Like you start on a bike, you should probably finish on the bike. Like if you have to go into the pits and like literally pull out a wrench and change something, or have like the neutral mechanic in there finish so that you can do the race. That's one thing. But like just having a straight up advantage of like I got more stuff.
So wait, then stupid. You just want cross to be like a mountain bike race, where you bring your tools with you in a tube and everything, and if you flat, you got to fix it.
It should be like
a different sport than mountain bike. So it has different rules.
But here's the thing.
Like you can race mountain bikes if you want to.
No, I will race mountain bikes. I'm just saying. A couple years ago, they made it so you could only have up to 33 tires, right? Because part of the argument was like, oh, then you got to bring less tires, and it lowers the like ability to have like an arsenal, right? That's some of the logic.
Sure.
The same could go just at a local level. At a local level, you shouldn't have to have two bikes, and you shouldn't have to like believe you need two bikes. Like that shouldn't be like you want to be good locally and you train, and then you're like, man, at this point, like if I raced in Portland every week, like I don't know how I could not have two bikes with like more rain and more mud. Like in Minnesota, we get mud once a year.
I don't think you have to have anything, though, little guy.
But if you want.
Yeah, I mean, you could show up with one bike with one cog on it, and you could rock that all day long, and nobody's forcing you to have two bikes.
I mean, look at.
Well, I'm saying no one's forcing you, but is it something that like when we discussed like making racing more accessible, like we're talking about people complaining about a $5 fucking extra charge so that dopers can get caught. Yet these are the same people that are like, it's perfectly reasonable that to like do a 45-minute. 55 plus race, I need to have two $4,000 bikes to be competitive.
But there's definitely pit bike crimes out there. Like full Di2 carbon hoop cross bikes in the pit that are worth well more than, a Teapot Cycles custom bike.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm just saying that your legs should decide the race, not your stuff.
Well, so it's like a time trial. So you just think like every time trial should be a stock time trial?
Yeah, I do actually, because time trials are fucking stupid, and like it doesn't prove that anyone's faster. It just proves that you spent more money to go get a bike fit and to get into some praying mantis position that you're like sure that the officials aren't going to get the tape measure out and measure that it's technically illegal, but they'll never know. It's cool.
So at this point, should I tell you that I got a bike fit this week?
Was it for a road bike or a time trial bike? Because it was just for your road position. I'm fine with that.
It was for a road bike.
All right, that's fine.
I got all lasered up, got some little spots put on my different joints, and then they created like a video image. I got retooled.
Now, did they create a dummy of you to put into the like air thing? What's it called? I can't think of what it's called. It's called a wind tunnel.
Wind tunnel.
I was going to call it an air tent for a second. What the fuck's an air tent?
I got the old retool fit, so I could figure out exactly what size titanium bike I could have for my debut in Masters 35 Plus racing next year.
Is retool like a kind of fit?
It's a company. It's like basically they put receptors, like data points on your joints, so it can measure like your angles of torso angle, leg extension angle, and all that. And actually, like my fit from that I've been having over the years, that I last got fit in 2008 at Grand Performance by Dan Casebeer, using the old Greg LeMond method, where I had to sit on a phone book that was pushed up against my junk to get the measurement of my inseam.
That's the way to do it, I think.
And then multiply that out with various things, and then he just put me up on the bike and took a look at me and was like, okay, we need to lower your stem. And then ever since then, it's been somewhat accurate. So I've got the measurements for the custom Moots titanium I'll be getting. But other than that, it was a pretty cool experience. I will say that, like, the science behind it... How
close was it?
Yeah, did you change it a lot? Or
the only thing that we're going to be changing is the torso angle. So, like, I guess I'm at, like, 37 degrees, like, where the bend is in my, like, my hips.
Yeah.
Like, from the torso angle. And then I need to be, he's like, yeah, usually you want to be at, like, 42 to 43 or something like that.
So you need to be more upright on your titanium bike? Is that what he's saying? This is awesome.
He said increased head tube. So he said that, like, He said that like you're not going to be able to tell visually, but like the bike I currently have, the Focus I have now, has a really small head tube. Apparently,
Yeah.
I don't know. He knows all the science. You guys know me with like this technical stuff.
That's
I
kind of
love it.
the Ridley way of building bikes. Like, if it, like we've
Yeah.
all had Ridleys, I think. at
Yeah.
one point.
Yeah.
And you buy a Ridley, and you're like, I ride a 52 or whatever, and you get a 52 Ridley, and it's like got this weird ass giant head tube, and you look at it, and you're like, I can't ride that.
It's
it doesn't
way
make
too
sense,
big.
but
Yeah.
then it works.
So
Yeah,
it was. I will say that the fit itself was pretty cool to get dialed in as far as like all the measurements. I mean, I think everything was within like a couple millimeters of where they were saying, because they base it off of your own personal data points, but then also thousands of people that have gotten this fit, so you can see like where the averages are. It was pretty exciting. I would recommend like a pretty fancy fit if you guys haven't gotten one before. Like
Fancy Fit. Now that's that store down on Fifth, right?
That sounds like a
That does the
cat
custom
food.
kits.
Hey, this is Mo Bruno Roy, and you're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
guys, road season is around the corner. Did you see all the news?
Oh no.
Jose Vivo is announced as the leader of the Tour Down Under for AG2R. How excited are you?
I'm so excited. That's a terrible race for him, and he probably won't even go. He'll probably DNF or DNS. He probably won't make it.
It's really sad that that's like the road news, and then of course the other road news is the new Quick Step kit. Have you guys had a chance to take a look at that? Spencer, you're the designer here.
That's
I
Spencer's.
couldn't miss it because you got that sassy Marcel Kittel over the bike looking back at you with his bedroom eyes. How could you not?
I totally forgot he was on that team. Holy shit! I just totally forgot that he was on them now. I am not ready yet for this. Shit.
I mean, the internet
What do you think?
didn't explode as they did with the Colnago ad of the same stature, but that's okay. Everybody loves
I think it had to
Marcel.
do with the Friday release of the kit. Like they just kind of,
Could be.
it kind of went out with the Friday trash.
Wait, so was he in the kit? Was he doing the pillow thing?
No, they didn't
Like
have a pillow
where
fight
every year
yet.
Quick Step has the pillow fight?
Yeah, they haven't done
Oh
that
man,
yet.
Kittle and Boonin in a pillow fight. Oh my god, I can't wait.
Yeah, we're all eagerly anticipating
The problem
that.
with this new
Throw in
kit,
a little our favorite American in there, just right in the middle.
Can I just point out that the problem with this new kit is that it's got the pinstripes.
Oh, does it?
It does.
It's got pinstripes that
They,
are like,
they
come
kind
on,
of
like,
jack the Trek thing a little bit.
yeah. Can't we just let people like own a certain segment? Like
Oh,
Trek has owned the pinstripes now for what, 2 years? Like, love it or hate it, it is their thing. Like, it looks pretty cool. I saw a kit on display today this weekend at the cross race, and it looks great in person with the pinstripes.
Mhm.
And now E-Tech's Quick Step has the pinstripes. It's like, come on, people! Like, there are random geometric shapes that have not been used yet. There is not a purple team in
But
the
maybe-
kit yet.
oh, speaking
there are
of-
so many options.
yeah. Show me an octagon. Show me one octagon on one kit, right?
Maybe Trek gave them. Maybe Trek gifted the pinstripe because they're going to have a lot of geometric shapes on their new Mapei kits.
You think they called Quick Step up and they said like we'll sell you pinstripes for $100. We don't need them anymore. We got some pinstripes laying around.
Yeah.
We got some more complicated shapes coming our way. So
They remember back in the day when you guys were awesome and you had Cancellara and these geometric shaped kits? In your face! Enjoy those pinstripes.
Quick Step. I like the new kits. I just wish that they were a little bit more original. Maybe maybe put those pinstripes a little bit at an angle, so they're just more diagonal lines.
I'll tell you, I do like the darker blue though. The light blue Quick Step is kind of done to death, and it just hasn't had the same pop as it did when they first came out with it, and it's just kind of looking old hat.
it's
The only-
not as black anymore.
There's plenty of
very
black,
dark.
but
There's
it's a
yeah.
darker blue. It's more like a like a blue
It's a
blue,
much-
true blue.
It's a much classier kit. Like, it doesn't have that real light blue, sky blue color. I think.
Yeah, there's no fades on it.
Yeah, it's like it's like that Movistar kit we talked about a couple weeks ago. It's just another like solid kit. Like those two kits together, you're like, hey, you know what? They look good. So, guys,
Oh, that is sexy. I just pulled up.
the final thing to really talk about this week was, as some people dubbed it, it was the Oprah week of cyclocross. You get points, and you get points, and you get points with 3 UCI cyclocross races this weekend in the United States. Mm-hmm. We had the NBX finals with Clark winning the race, right? Tweakin'?
Yeah, he won on Sunday, and Jeremy Martin came down from Canada and won on Saturday.
And then you had Ruts and Guts in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
I like Ruts and Gluts.
Ruts and Guts, promoted by the guys that do Tulsa Tough. And then right up the road, really the grandfather of them all. And I actually feel a little bit bad for Jingle Cross, where this race is quickly becoming one of the biggest races on the scene. And now you've got 2 competitive races in the UCI calendar on the same weekend. Come on, let's give it up for Jingle Cross.
I don't think it affected it though, man. It had a ton of people, like just generally people racing, people spectating. It felt like more than ever.
That's awesome, and that's the way it should be. So why would a race, like Oklahoma? Let's just pick that one. Let's let New England do their thing all by themselves. That's cool. Like, you know, they kind of have a pretty big scene. They can support it. But why would the Oklahoma promoters put their race on the same weekend as Jingle Cross, which conceivably is the closest UCI cyclocross race to Oklahoma? Like, you would think that they would sit there going like, okay, maybe we should be the weekend after. Like, maybe there would be a little bit of connection here.
I think you just answered your own question. They're on the same weekend. They wanted all the people. They were looking at scrubs like me, and they were saying, that guy's not going to get a point at Jingle Cross, but he's going to think he can get a point at Tulsa Tough or whatever the hell. So he's going to come here.
Ruts and Guts.
Ruts and Guts. He's still not going to get a point.
Does every race in Oklahoma have to have a ridiculous name? Is that like part of the rules?
Well, they only have 2 races, so yeah.
Yeah. But they're like rodeo-themed names.
If you've been to Oklahoma, the whole place is kind of rodeo-themed.
Well...
So what's your feeling on the NBX finals, Spencer? Did you go?
Yeah, I was down there on Saturday. NBX is the final weekend of the Verge series. So it's always pretty hard fought for that title, which was exciting. It was good racing. Ellen Noble won on Saturday over Emma White, and they reversed order on Sunday. And then, like you said earlier, Anthony Clark won on Sunday in the men's side of things, with Jeremy Martin winning on Saturday. A lot of exciting races. That race is awesome. The course is amazing. Really well done. And they got a little creative with it. It's got a beach run that has to be the absolute maximum length it can be by UCI rules. It's huge. And
where is this race?
How? Okay, go.
It's in Warwick, Rhode Island, right next to Providence.
How long is the maximum run? Is that just for flat runs? Because the uphill runs I did must have been maximum.
Because I think they think the max, like, I think there's a maximum of sand. I don't know. I'd have to pull up the rules, but it's 80 meters. I think uphill they kind of consider that like rideable. You know what I mean? But since it was muddy, you couldn't. You know.
Bullshit. No way.
So with the NBX finals, Ruts and Guts, little guy, how many people were at Jingle Cross totally?
Well, like in the race, or just like everybody?
No,
like
is it just like the busiest you've ever seen it, you said?
It did seem the busiest, yeah. It just seemed like all the fields were huge and just like I don't know. There was like more parking. Like there's just like the parking lot was full. There was like parking in this field. It just felt crazier and bigger.
Did you have to wait 4 hours for breakfast again?
Oh my God, Spencer.
Yeah,
Spencer.
I'm waiting.
That guy, that guy that was always at the counter when we went to that breakfast joint?
Yep.
There's
He's
this,
the
like,
worst.
this dude.
He's the worst.
He was the slowest, worst. He shouldn't have. I don't know where he could have worked. But oh my God, you've never waited so long to get like a burrito cooked in like a George Foreman grill in your head. I went to the breakfast joint with my dad and my stepmom. We got our food 20 minutes. I kid you not, 20 minutes. We ordered drinks. We got them immediately. No 5-minute wait for this guy to find the hot water nozzle to get me some freaking hot water for tea.
Less people on Sunday this year?
Less people on Sunday, probably because everyone ripped their derailleur off on Saturday. and they're just like, screw it. They don't
So
need to
many
break
poor
another bike.
shifting mistakes going on. I saw a
Oh my
lot of
God.
photos.
But if
I've
they had a
never
second
seen-
bike,
If they had a second bike there, but I mean, you can't start with just one bike.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter. I mean, every time I see a photo of someone with their derailleur hanging and they're walking in a race, I'm just like, what poor decisions have you made in your life to get you to this point?
So I have that feeling, but I don't want to say that because I feel like that's cursing myself, and I'm gonna rip a derailleur.
I don't care, man.
I think you should be.
That is
careful with these
operator
words.
error. It's not the mud. It is operator error.
I've bent a hanger. I've never broken a hanger.
Neither
I'm
have
just
I.
nervous. I don't want to curse it.
Yeah.
But we both have steel bikes with like integrated steel hangers that like don't break.
I have not always
Whereas
had a
these-
steel bike.
Well, neither have I. But I've never seen as many broken derailleur hangers and just broken derailleurs as I've seen.
I mean,
this week.
my claim to fame at Jingle Cross was finishing in the money in the UCI race by way of everyone else ripping the derailleur
Yeah.
hangers off.
That
I got
was how we would
25th
get
place
the
and
money.
got that last check, and it was awesome.
You guys know what place I got yesterday?
What place?
16th.
I got 26.
26.
That's okay. That's UCI level 16th place, little guy.
Sort of. I don't know if they actually paid 25 deep yesterday. It was a C2, so I don't know.
Probably not in the C2. It probably only went 20 deep.
So, little guy,
On Saturday, it
after
would've
this
went-
year's experience, I got two questions for you.
Yeah.
First is, did Jingle Cross do enough to become a World Cup venue?
It's definitely the hardest race in the world. So
I-
yeah,
I would
Do
agree.
you think it could be like considered? Let's say that venue was in Belgium. Let's say, would that just? I mean, obviously you've never been to any of the Belgium races, but we've watched lots of them on TV and pirate internet. Do you think that course could rate? Like people would be sitting there going like, "Oh, Jingle Cross, man, the Grinch's lair.
man.
Like that's such an evil spot."
okay. One, the Grinch's lair wouldn't matter, but two, that hill is brutal.
The
Like
hill is
going up it
brutal.
is hard, going down is hard. I mean, I don't know if either of you guys watched like the live feed, like there was whatever from Friday or Saturday, but like people were eating it constant. At least yesterday in the descent, it was like constant carnage going down and going up was just brutal. Like
Yeah. I mean, I think
I like Jingle Cross. I love it, but I wish I'd gone to Tulsa just for the pure racing of it because that was like just like I didn't really race. I just sort of rode around and got like made fun of by people, and then occasionally like went down a hill fast enough for people to cheer.
Were they
I've-
evil making
I've-
fun of you?
I have
I
two
got some.
things.
I felt like there was some kind of mean. Maybe because I was just like not enjoying my own racing ability.
What were they saying?
I don't know. They made fun of. They just made fun of you, and I was like, "Come on, he's not even here to defend himself."
Wait,
Like,
they made fun of me?
No, nobody made fun of you. No, I actually met some very nice people, and a very nice guy. I don't know who he was. I'm climbing the very top of the hill. I'm riding in the race. I'm like gassed and like out of breath, and I probably got like saliva coming all over my face. And he's like, "Hey, you're a little guy from the Slow Ride podcast, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So that was very nice. Whoever you were, it was nice to meet you as I rode by.
I don't know if you'd have had a much better time in Oklahoma, little guy, actually, because there was numerous reports on the Twitters of really poor heckling going on there. Really, just
I just think kind
mean-spirited
of the general
heckling.
game. So there's definitely nice people, but I felt like there was some kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like people in an attempt to be funny. We've talked about this before. Sometimes go to this level of you're just like, what? That wasn't very clever, and it was just sort of mean.
It's not even funny. It's like lame.
It is really lame.
Yeah.
I liked it more when, I gotta say, when we had the purple kits, I just got called Purple Merple, which I thought was just not very original, but was just kind of funny to hear as I like ran up a hill really slow. Eric Devlamic passed away. He's 7-time world champion in cyclocross. We're talking about cyclocross. We got to mention that they had a moment of silence for him at the race on Sunday. Spencer wanted to talk about the drama on, but we haven't talked about. But anyway, Eric Devlamic passed away. Great cyclocross racer. Brother of Roger, Mr. Paris-Roubaix. So it's a sad thing. Wasn't that old.
That is sad. And with that sad news, we'd like to thank everyone for listening to the Slow Ride podcast on both iTunes and Stitcher. Make sure you leave a review, subscribe, tell your friends. You can always email us, the slowridepodcast@gmail.com. We're on Twitter at The Slow Ride Pod, where all types of fun stuff happens. We didn't get any reviews this week, so leave us a review so we can read it. And with that, make sure you always wave at the spandex clowns that you see riding out there on the road, and even just regular people riding a bike. Just give them a little wave. No big deal. And thanks to BK1 of Rhyme Series Entertainment for the intro and outro. And with that, we bid you adieu.
The Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at The Slow Ride Pod.